Coming up on Tech News today, the government wants to get into your privacy and regulate it. Is that a good or a bad idea? Also, a whole bunch of Kinect hacks are out. That has got to hack off Microsoft. And I am Spartacus. I'll explain why.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, November 12th, 2010. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford and voice-activated sync, featuring true hands-free calling, turn-by-turn directions, 911 assist, and more. Available exclusively on Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles. For more details, visit syncmyridepodcast.com. And by Gazelle, the easy way to sell or recycle the used gadgets lying around your home or office. For a 5% bonus payment for your used gadgets, go to Gazelle.com, bonus code TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And joining us today from ABCNewsRadio.com, Mr. Dan Patterson.
Howdy.
Hey, Dan.
Thanks for joining us again. We just had you on for Election Day a while back. It's good to have you back.
Hey, thanks. Finally woke up from a long-needed night of rest.
Yeah, I bet. And they still haven't finished counting ballots. Like here in the Bay Area, they're still counting ballots. Counting ballots up in Alaska. Counting ballots. You know who's not counting ballots, though? The Nvidia CEO, Jensen Huang, who said today in his earnings call, was it today or was it yesterday, actually? But he said in his earnings call, I'm going to do my Steve Jobs imitation.
But he did it, it was yesterday, he did it in a way of not saying anything at all. He used a lot of really good adjectives.
Yeah, he was freaking poetic, is what he was. We're going to start building into our phone and tablet design wins.
They're building a magical product.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the next generation of Android phones and tablets that are coming out. And I think it's going to be really going to surprise people and delight consumers.
Consumers everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. It's going to be completely fabulous.
So he's stalling. That's what this is.
Is that what it is?
It's a big, giant stall with a lot of adjectives like magical and delightful.
He also took a swipe at the Galaxy Tab. At least that's how Engadget took it. He said, he's talking a little bit about Samsung, and then he says, a tablet is not a large phone. Okay? It's not a large phone. And expressing frustration with Android's current immaturity for the tablet round. What's interesting is the NVIDIA Tegra, we've been waiting for almost a year now. We saw them at CES in January last year.
And people expected it certainly by now for the holidays.
Tegra 2 powered tablets. A lot of tablets. We saw a lot of tablets at CES last year, and we do not see them hitting the market yet. We'll talk a little later about Lenovo's delaying theirs until after the first of the year as well.
I don't know. It just, I mean, you read that and it's like, okay, you go on. You want to make a good product. That's fine. We hear you. It's going to be great. Well, really better be great now.
The only thing he didn't say was magical and revolutionary.
And you're going to love it.
Hyperbole, anytime you hear hyperbole like that, you can, especially in the gadget market, this is not my area of forte, but especially with gadgets, hyperbole means major supply chain problems. And I really just can't see all of the devices like you described that were out at CES last year, particularly when Google is saying Chrome is maybe the OS, but definitely Android is not the OS for tablets. Hyperbole equals big problems coming down the line.
Wall Street Journal reports today that the Obama administration wants better internet privacy protection and is looking at putting in new laws. The Journal says White House has asked the Commerce Department to create a report with recommendations on enacting new laws concerning internet privacy, leaving aside the political situation and the fact that we may have gridlock for the next 2 years anyway. Do we want government privacy laws, and if so, what should they be?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I think government's privacy standards or recommended best practices, but legislation, and like you said, Tom, I mean, we can say that gridlock aside and the workings of government aside, do we want this? It won't happen unless there is massive consumer calls for these types of things, especially right now. We're not going to see any legislation along these lines for 18 to 36 months.
Yeah, there's an article on TG Daily that kind of bears on this. It says that Microsoft is telling advertisers they can sell them data on the physical characteristics of who is playing games based on the Kinect camera. So it can see how many people are there, what their body types are, how they interact, all of that stuff, and then it can compile that data. It's going to be so-called anonymous, and sell it to in-game advertisers.
So it's less about how badly you dance and about how many people play the Kinect together. Is it like a party device? Are people actually using this for exercise? What kind of a shape are they in?
Especially good if you're using apps and you'd like to say, like, which ad should roll in while you're watching this Hulu Plus video. Could they take advantage of that and say, like, oh, it looks like we have larger people, so we're going to put the Kentucky Fried Chicken ads in there. Oh, and now we have some women, so we'll put some women's products in. You know, I mean, they can differentiate.
Which is, I mean, again, it's like they don't care if it's Tom Merritt watching, interacting with the Kinect. It's just more of Tom Merritt type of body, tall guy.
So, but
with a beard.
So the question is, okay, if
so
this is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Should I would like to opt into this sort of thing, but should I have the government saying, you have to get people to opt in? And that's what they're talking about doing in Europe, is saying you have a right to privacy. And I guess that's where the question hinges. Do we have a right to privacy like we have a right to live? You know, and the government outlaws murder because we have a right to live without being murdered. Do we have on a much, you know, stepping it down a little, do we have a right to privacy?
Well, imagine if the government was looking over every time Facebook wanted to update their privacy standards.
I think the argument that will be made that will be far more prescient than whether the government should or shouldn't be involved is potential liability, and we'll really see this. You know, we don't technically have a right to a lot of the things we think we have a right to. It's whether case law and precedent has backed up a lot of the things that we consider to be commonplace rights. But when we leave the realm of liability, corporate liability, and issues like this start making their way through the district and circuit courts, we as consumers are just now trying to deal with these issues. But what will be really interesting is in the next 3 to, say, 10 years, when the courts start determining whether the laws that or the EULAs and the agreements you sign up for never read, how strongly these should be considered in liability cases. That's what will be really interesting.
Because I have the right not to use the Kinect, and then they can't collect any data. I mean, is it fair to say, you know what? If I brought the Kinect into my home, as long as I fairly know what they're doing, I mean, if they're doing I think there's a difference between collecting in secret and disclosing it. Mm-hmm. If I know that they're doing it, I can just not use the Kinect, right?
And that's why the EULA is an ambiguous area, because that's technically you saying, I know, I give my explicit consent.
Yeah, and but have you really, when you haven't even scrolled down and you haven't even read it?
Right, become very interesting is the strength of these agreements over the next couple of years.
You know who doesn't want the government involved? The Interactive Advertising Bureau.
Really, what did they have to say about this?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Tom, because the vice president, Mike Zene, said, we believe we're living up to consumer privacy expectations and are very advanced in privacy protections and innovation.
Well,
nobody's upset.
That's interesting. The advertising people say, you know what, we're collecting enough information. It's fine.
They love it.
It's not a problem.
Everyone wins.
Exactly. Why mess with a good thing for us?
We just want to target what Tom already wants.
Yeah.
We're helping him.
We're doing it for him.
He bought the Kinect.
Yeah, he could have closed his drapes, kept the Kinect out.
He wants us.
Yeah.
We need
obviously
each other.
Wants to be monitored.
Stay out, Gov.
You know, in some ways I agree with that. I mean, I think maybe there is there's a case for a law to say you need to be made aware of what something can do. Right? So if it's going to, if the Kinect is going to be storing your stuff, that should be disclosed. But again, that's where your point is, Dan, is like, how do they disclose that? If it's in a EULA, is that enough? Because they've technically done it, but nobody's read that. I mean, let's be honest. How many people read EULAs? Very, very few.
The definition of consent.
Yeah.
And can you read that EULA before you actually buy the Kinect? Like, is it packaged within the product?
That's a good question.
You know what? I don't know specifically on the Kinect, but a lot of times it's not.
One would think legally it has to be available somewhere.
Yeah, you have to be able to find it, but then you're going out of your way. Like before you buy a Kinect, you have to hop online and find some buried web page that has the EULA just to look for something that may or may not be there.
You could return the product. I mean, it's an inconvenience for you, but technically you don't lose any money.
Yeah,
Maybe a restocking
just
fee at Best
a
Buy.
minor bit of privacy. All right, speaking of Kinect, there's more hacks on the way. A Google engineer, Matt Cutts, he's a search spam engineer, is sponsoring 2 more $1,000 bounties if you're mad that you didn't get the $2,000 bounty for unlocking the Kinect to be used on third-party devices. Well, now you got 2 more prizes to go after. The first goes to the person or team that writes the coolest open source app, demo, or program using the Kinect. The second prize goes to the person or team that does the most to make it easy to write programs that use Kinect on Linux.
So find out what Matt Cutts thinks is really, really cool and do that.
Go onto Google, search for him, invade his privacy. No, don't do that.
No.
But you might win $1,000.
Yeah.
There's also another hacked Kinect out there. Maybe these guys will win the $1,000. For the greater good was started using the Wiimote for all sorts of awesome projects. And now they, let's see, LibFree Enact has been ported over to OS X by Theo Watson and can do some really cool multi-touch type stuff in the air. It looks totally like Minority Report.
In fact, I think this is the closest to Minority Report I've ever seen. I mean, squeezing your hands. Look at this. He's moving around his
if you watch the video, you can see his silhouette. By the way, that's what they capture when they send the data to the advertisers.
He looks fit, maybe bald. That's all I know about
But he's
him.
just holding his hands up in the air and grabbing photos
Isn't that great?
of cherry blossoms, it looks like, and moving them around.
Yeah. And he's able to zoom in, zoom out. Isn't that great?
That's
I mean,
pretty
it's
sweet.
obviously sort of, it's the beginning stages, but imagine.
Yeah, this is Florian Echtler, who took the open source driver that won the $2,000 prize and hooked the Kinect into his own multi-touch UI Tish software library. And the result is like Microsoft Surface in the air.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's pretty great.
It's really cool.
Also, iFixit has determined by tearing, they do this, right? With every new product, they tear it down, they look at the components, and they give you an estimate about how much it costs. The Microsoft Kinect is made up of about 35 pounds worth of parts. That's about $70.
And so Microsoft is pocketing like, what, $250 a unit?
Well, you got to figure in R&D and marketing and all that stuff.
True.
But yeah, I mean, $70 for something that runs $200 with the game boxed in. That's at least break even when you consider other costs, if not making a profit. And usually these things are loss leaders.
Yeah, like the Xbox.
Yeah, any kind of console is usually a loss leader. So Xbox Kinect getting hacked all over, and maybe, I don't know, now that iFixit is torn apart, you can build your own. Let's take a moment to thank Ford Voice-Activated Sync for their support of Tech News Today. If you haven't heard us talking about it, then you don't know that Ford Voice-Activated Sync lets you call on your phone, send text messages, and fiddle around with your playlists while you're driving. That might sound like a bad idea until you understand that it's true hands-free. True hands-free calling, true hands-free text messaging, true hands-free music. You can tell it to skip. You can tell it to change playlists. You can say, text Sarah Lane, tell her I'm 20 minutes away. I'll be at the Gadget event soon. If I had a Ford Voice-Activated Sync, that would come in very handy this evening. But
voice fiddling. Who thought this would be possible?
Yeah, you can play with the radio knob and keep both hands on the wheel.
What? Volume up, volume down, volume up, volume up, volume
exactly. Down. Change channel. Also, in all seriousness, 911 assist. The airbags deploy. It calls 911 automatically for you. Gives you turn-by-turn directions, even looks at traffic, and gives you a new route if you want by figuring out where all the traffic is. If you'd like to find out more about Ford and voice-activated sync, it's standard on some Ford, Lincoln, Mercury models and optional on others. To learn more, go to syncmyridepodcast.com. That's SYNC, syncmyridepodcast.com. The Java Wars are still going on. You know, last month, Apple said it was deprecating its version of Java, and a lot of people started screaming that this would mean no more Java on OS 10, that they would just not do Java like they did with Flash on the iPad. There's just not going to be any more Java on any Apple devices. Cooler heads have prevailed. Apple has announced that it's partnering with Oracle to bring Java SE7 to Mac OS 10 as part of the OpenJDK project. So this is the one where Oracle will develop the releases of Java in cooperation with Apple, but Oracle does all the hard work and puts them out. The project is open source. Apple's contributions will be available to open source devs who want to help contribute to the code as well. And they also noted that Oracle would ultimately be responsible for the distribution. So when you need new Java, it'll come from Oracle now instead of OS 10. So when Apple said, you know, we're doing this because we just don't feel like it's efficient for us to develop the code anymore.
We're always behind a cycle.
Yeah, they meant it.
I was just going to say, I think that this is a reasonable, for once, a very reasonable response. This lets Apple, and it's very clever of them as well, it lets them abdicate their responsibility, put it all onto Oracle, yet retain some type of, I don't want to say control or ownership, but contributions to the project, make sure that it's compliant and compatible, but not take responsibility. And I think that's a key. It allows them to not take responsibility for it, but contribute in a meaningful way.
On the other side of the coin, the Apache Software Foundation is declaring war on Oracle over Java. They wanted to push for a vote of no confidence in the Java community process, which is the other way Java is developed. And Apache says if they can convince enough members to follow suit, they could effectively unravel the Java community as a whole. However, you know, that would end up giving Oracle more control, a lot of people fear. So this is continuing to be pretty rocky since Oracle took this over from Sun, and not the least of which is the lawsuit going on between Oracle and Google. Google filed their answer and says if Oracle has no case here, of course they're going to say that. They say Google's third parties should be liable for the infringement. They very cleverly say that Android isn't developed by Google, so even if it were infringing, it's developed by the Open Handset Alliance.
So go after them.
They'd be responsible for it. Sure, we're a member of that, but we're not the same thing.
But Google's also saying that Oracle doctored code examples that they brought to this. They had 6 pages of code that supposedly show how Android is ripping off Java, and Google's like, no, that's some of this stuff is just missing. They've doctored. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous.
Well, it reminds me
they're
of
missing headers.
Reminds a lot of people of the SCO thing, where SCO versus IBM, they found out that SCO had changed the code around to make it look bad.
I don't understand how you would be entering this into evidence and doctorate and not think that the company who's having to defend themselves is not going to look at this line by line and notice that things are missing or moved around.
The other thing Google's doing is pushing to invalidate some of the patents. They're coming up with all kinds of reasons. They're saying, look, first of all, the code they gave you, they made that up. That's not even the right code. They took out copyright notices. They moved stuff around. So that's invalid. Even if it was valid, their patents aren't valid. Here's a bunch of reasons why their patents suck. And even if their patents didn't suck, it's not even us who did it. I mean, this is typical legal reasoning, obviously. But the upshot of all of this is, from what I understand, if Google could win on all these points, which is probably unlikely, but if they were, they could end up taking Java out of Oracle's control, which is sort of what Apache is doing over there on the other side in pushing for a vote of no confidence in the community process. So there's a lot on the line as far as Java's future goes right now.
And then Apache's saying, hey, that's not our code in there.
Yeah, right. Well, that was
to throw another wrench into this whole thing.
The only code Google's saying a lot of this isn't even Java code, and the only code that is Harmony code. And Apache's
says no, it isn't. That's not our code.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but it's not us. Whose code is it?
All right, let's turn to something a little more warm-hearted.
Okay.
Would you like to see something that make your heart feel warm, Sarah?
Yeah, like a kitty or a puppy or something like that.
Microsoft has an adorable new Windows 7 ad out.
Oh, okay.
Dan, you want to take a look at this?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
I'll take a look.
Here, let's see here. All right. Take and go.
I'm ready to get warm and fuzzy.
Oh, it's like
You are now free to use all portable electronic devices.
kind of a Andy Warhol.
Hey, Mac, you're up.
Yeah. I'm sure it's gonna be a long flight.
Oh, it's a Mac versus PC.
What is that? Oh, it's Blu-ray. It's built in. You wanna watch? Whoa.
Need a dusting?
How can he
What?
see from the side?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna need some chips and a ginger ale stat.
Has great side angle viewing.
I see.
See, I love this part. Little laptops running around in Avatar land.
I don't remember that part of Avatar.
Nice. I mean, it feels like we're really in it.
See, there's no. This is showing the differences
This
in a
film
nice
is rated
way.
PC. Boy, cleverness abounds.
Don't you love that?
No, I
You
don't.
don't?
I mean, I get why you think it's kind of cute, but it's still PCs are better than Macs. I mean, that's
Right,
still
but it's
the
not
point that they're
hammering
getting
you over the
across.
head. They're not being all bitchy about it.
No, you know what they're being is
But it
manipulative.
doesn't. I mean, what this new, at least I presume that if they dropped about $500 million into the marketing campaign for this, that maybe they've learned from the last Windows 7 campaign, and that this is going to roll out in stages, and we will see a narrative occur here. But the problem that none of these commercials solve, or none of the campaigns solves to this point, none of them say why. Why should I either change from one of the two dominant operating systems or mobile operating systems, be it Android or iOS, or why should I adopt if I haven't adopted already? It's not speaking to the business consumer who has a BlackBerry. It's not speaking to the person who needs to go buy milk for their family and for their kids. Why is never answered in these.
No, it's not. But it was.
because Blu-ray is
liked
the
it.
best.
I guess I like
That's
the
why.
idea of little laptops climbing up the floating islands.
Yeah,
That's
that didn't really happen, you know.
yes, it did. It was on video.
Did you even see? You told me you watched
right
Avatar
there.
again the other night.
I did. I watched it on the weekend.
No,
it
that's
was
not
on
part of the
HBO. There were laptops in it, I'm telling you. All right. Well, I'm not going to make the same mistake. I'm going to tell you exactly what is important about our sponsor, Gazelle.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm ready.
You have old gadgets.
I sure
You want
do.
to get money for them. Gazelle will give you money.
How can that be? These are old. It's stuff no one would want.
Well, in most cases, they will give you money. In some cases, they'll just recycle for you, but they will take it off your hands, and you have to do very little about it. You go to Gazelle.com. You look up your gadget, your ebook reader, your laptop, your camera, your smartphone. Tell them what condition it is. Be honest. They're going to look at it when they get it. And then they'll give you a quote. Say, hey, you know what? We can sell it for this much. We're gonna give you this much. Sure, you could find other ways to dispose of it, but this is the easiest, and they will just give you the money. 20 product categories, over 200,000 unique items, and they either give you cash or they help you recycle responsibly. You just put in your gadget, like I said. You tell them you accept. They'll send you a box if you want. If you're that lazy like me, that you don't even want to scrounge around for a box, they'll send you one, and they'll pay for the postage. You put the gadget in the box, send the box off in the mail. They send you a check. They can even deposit it for you in PayPal. They can give you an Amazon or Walmart gift card. In fact, you get a 5% bonus with an Amazon gift card. Or you can ask Gazelle to donate the value of your gadget to a charity if you want. It's all kinds of options for you there, but all you have to do is click around on your mouse. You don't have to go out and talk to people or
You don't even have to go buy a box.
place ads. You don't even have to buy a box.
You don't have to get off the couch. Well, I guess you have to answer the door.
Quotes vary by model, so be sure to enter the correct model and all the correct information and the correct assessment of its condition and everything. But round up those used gadgets from your home, your office, your drawers, your closets, your basements. Go to Gazelle.com, see how much they're worth, and get a 5% bonus for listening to this show. Use the bonus code TNT, and you'll not only get a little bit of money, you'll get 5% more money than you would have got. Don't just sell it. They say Gazelle it, which is kind of funny, but at least you'll remember it. And it works. I've done it. It's great. On to the news fuse. Hulu seems to be getting it, or maybe they are being allowed to get it by their corporate masters of the networks. But Hulu Plus is now going to be available on the Sony Dash. It's that little Sony version of the Chumby. That means that Hulu is now promised to the Roku, Xbox 360, Boxy, and now the Dash, and it's already on the Sony PS3. It seems that they're taking a little bit of the Pages strategy from Netflix here, which is working really well from Netflix. Netflix is seemingly on every device and raking in billions of dollars.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah?
Have you ever wondered what happened to all those Microsoft Kins? You know, the ones
I
that
thought
they
probably
didn't
people
sell?
just went to Gazelle with them.
Well, some people might have, but there are a lot that PBC Geeks reports and Engadget confirms that a leaked Verizon roadmap for Q4 includes the two Kin devices, which are Kin 1 and Kin 2, respectively.
So Dr. Seussian.
Instead of burdening the intended teen market with those $60 data plans, though, Verizon's now going to offer a relatively cheap 15 bones a month for
Nice.
150 megabytes.
Oh,
but
that's
alas, no unlimited uploads to Flickr.
Not at 150 megabytes, no.
With Instagram, who cares?
Right.
Well, maybe a Kin device wouldn't help you with Instagram
I don't think it would.
No. iOS only, sorry.
Vint Cerf, the co-inventor of TCP/IP, upon which the internet still runs, says the UK government should offer tax credits to businesses that upgrade their networking equipment to support IPv6. Mr. Cerf says that businesses in the UK and the rest of Europe are at risk of being cut off from customers in parts of the world that do not have widespread IPv6. There will be no IPv4 addresses available within 2 years.
Yeah, we are running out soon. Plus, I guess Mac does a new thing with IPv6 now where it breaks it intentionally to kind of force you to fix the problem on your ISP's end. See how that works out. Are you ready to jailbreak your Windows Phone 7? Australian developer Chris Walshy successfully proved a method to run native unmanaged code on a retail Windows Phone 7 device. Walshy was able to successfully deploy a valid Windows Phone 7 application using the developer sideloading process. Next up, sideloading an application on a common non-developer device. And then you can put whatever you want on your Windows Phone 7.
Lenovo Group will wait to launch their tablet computer called the LePad until next year, according to Chief Executive Yuan Qing. I hope I'm saying your name right, Yang. No pricing was given. LePad was expected by the end of this year. When it finally does arrive, the tablet market will be quite cozy now with Samsung, RIM, Dell, and a million others joining Apple. Maybe not a million, but a lot.
LePad.
LePad.
No comment. The former Tennessee college student who was convicted of hacking into Sarah Palin's Yahoo Mail account was sentenced on Friday to 366 days in either a federal prison or a halfway house. That's a year and a day, which used to get you freedom, apparently, in medieval times.
Yeah, it used to be if you got away from your lord for a year and a day, you'd be a free man. So maybe he should run.
I got to go.
One of the more debilitating symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder is the flashbacks. Drugs may have unwanted side effects like eliminating firsthand experience of the events. A team of cognitive scientists have used some of the ideas of their field to suggest playing Tetris may block the consolidation of memories that trigger the flashbacks without the unwanted side effects.
See, I knew Tetris saves.
Tetris saves.
Tetris does save.
I need that on a bumper sticker.
Yeah, we should make that. Seed innovator, Silicon Valley idea factory thingy, for lack of a better, I don't really know what. Y Combinator announced this morning that it has added the first 2 new investment partners since launching 5 whole years ago. They are Paul Bouchit, creator of Gmail. You may have heard of that. It's a little email service no one uses. The prototype for AdSense and the Google slogan, "Don't be evil."
He created Don't Be Evil?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he's the guy who's credited with it anyway.
Nice.
And Tajar, I'm bad with names today, a Y Combinator employee who previously built and sold an eBay auction automation software company.
So if they hired the guy who coined Don't Be Evil, does that give them license to be evil?
Well, it gives him license to tell them not to be.
But they don't have to listen to him anymore because he works at Y Combinator.
They're paying. He says, "Don't be evil." They say, "You want to get paid?"
Yeah,
Or
but
don't you?
He's like, "I'm not at Google anymore. Be evil if you want. I don't care."
He comes from Facebook. And previously
which is actually, I mean, this is a very interesting move for him. I would presume that he can afford to make a move like this, but this is really making the choice to leave a place where he could make a lot of money after a place where he can make a lot more money and go to some place that really does help young people, smart people, and innovative people. So, I mean, the cynical response to this is he doesn't need the money anymore. He can do what he wants. But the really interesting response is that a lot of people have been in the same position and not made the choice that he has. So it's a commendable move.
Yeah. It's an interesting trend that we see people leaving Google at higher profile levels. Google has become an old company. I think they've passed over that limit.
Internet years.
Yeah. I mean, they're no IBM,
Right.
but they are now big. It's not about time. It's about largeness. They've become
legacy.
too big. Yeah, and legacy, right.
One of the frequent complaints that we get here at ABC is well, why don't you do this or this or this? And it's not a lack of desire, but it really does take a very long time to turn a big ship around. And you start to develop not just legacy, in this case of Google, legacy code, but legacy culture as well. And it's difficult for large companies to turn on a dime. A lot of that has to do with liability. And somebody like Bushit is probably very interested in innovating and working with innovative people, which is, again, a very commendable thing for him to do.
Speaking of innovative and being a small company, those heady days of the late 70s when Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were in the garage while Steve Wozniak put together computers and Steve Jobs thought about money or something. The first Apple computer, the Apple I, is going on sale at Christie's, the auctioneer, and they expect it to sell between $159,800 and $239,700. It's got 8 kilobytes of RAM, a printed circuit board with 4 rows AD, and the Apple I motherboard. Looks like it has the original cassette interface as well as the operating manual. Yeah. Exactly. Comes in the original box. You still got to put it in a case yourself.
You'd think, well, wouldn't Steve Wozniak or Steve Jobs want to buy this? But they already have their own because it was one of like 200 made, I think.
This was number 82, they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Woz has one.
I can't imagine them not each having.
I think he didn't have one for a while,
and had to buy it,
and he had to reobtain it, or somebody gave him one. Yeah, that I may be wrong with. That may be apocryphal. I'm not going to confirm that. But
Tom, you've got a Christmas present for your mom.
Yep. She would not love that at all. She would not understand it in the least. All right, let's move on to the calendar.
Ooh, that was neat.
Oh, see, you liked it. I don't know if Becky really...
You added the page flips to it.
That was on there yesterday. I think we just kind of talked over it.
Okay.
But I might add a little bit more to it.
Yeah. So a lot of us were hoping that iOS 4.2 would be pushed out today.
I was kind of hoping about that.
I was very much hoping that my iPad would get some folders and some fast switching and some multi-touch. No, that didn't happen. So the new rumor is iOS 4.2 to launch on November 24th as a revised iPad build surfaces, although we did get a new iTunes. Yep. So all is not lost. We got something today, just not what we wanted.
It warns you about ping now. It says, hey, there's this ping thing, and it can collect information about you, so just be warned. Speaking of privacy.
Yes.
Gran Turismo 5 coming November 24th now. At least that's the latest date.
Do you really think that will happen?
I wanted to. Do you like racing games?
I'm just so bad at them. They're so frustrating that I usually just throw the controller and walk out.
Dan, do you play racing games?
I'm kind of the same way. I'm such a klutz that I would like to like racing games.
Me too. It's not fun to play a game that you can't get better at. And that's how I feel about racing games. I think
the reason I like racing games is because I'm so impressed with the danger of actually being on a real highway that I drive, as some have commented on recently, very carefully.
You're a defensive driver.
When I get into a racing game, I'm like, if I crash and die, it's not a problem.
At least it's not the opposite. At least you don't drive like you're playing a racing game.
Some people I know do.
Yeah, I do sometimes.
They're all on the West Side Highway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's that, too.
Also, we want to remind you guys that we want you to help us pick the best moments of TWiT. And, of course, TNT, that's this show. So if there's a particularly cool moment that you know of, you can think of, just go to twit.tv/bestof. And then you can got this little form here. Pick your show, pick your episode number, the time of, during the episode where Tom said that really funny thing and you laughed and laughed. All very helpful. So you can help us help
that one time.
Yeah, well,
this year's best of is comprised of one moment.
Was it a great year?
That one time Tom said that one thing.
Once a month, Tom really pulls in a zinger. Otherwise, he's just the smart guy.
All right, let's move on to the email, tnt@twit.tv, and our unofficial correspondent, Connor from London, who's still in Dublin, reporting on Paul Chambers' failed appeal yesterday against his conviction for a Twitter post. He had said in a Twitter post that he was going to blow up Robin Hood Airport because he was mad that it was closed. And then he was taken to court about it. Thousands of UK Twitter users have retweeted Paul's original Twitter post with the hashtag #IamSpartacus. It is currently the top trending topic in the UK. There seems to be a lot of support for Paul, says Connor, particularly amongst comedians who understandably are dismayed with the judge's unwillingness to entertain the possibility that the offending Twitter post might have been meant as a joke. The British actor and comedian Stephen Fry has offered to pay Chambers' fine, and there appears to be particular dismay at the judge's comment that, quote, "It could not be more clear. Any ordinary person reading this tweet would see it in the way and be alarmed." And then his powdered wig kind of jumped off of his head in emphasis.
The wig was also alarmed.
Connor says it seems rather ironic given that it appears many ordinary people in the UK are more alarmed by the verdict than the actual post. Sadly, there is a rich history, he says, within the British judiciary of failure to keep up with modern technology and what ordinary people feel is acceptable. I am Spartacus!
Are you going to tweet it out?
I think it's too late. I think I missed the boat.
Right.
Now I'd be
if
like,
I can jump in here real quick. You know, we have news operations all over the world, and I know not from a government perspective, but from our perspective, just the amount of bureaucracy that goes into covering something like this is incredible. But it's coupled with liability once again, and we live in a culture where, unfortunately, making jokes like this, while you and I can, from the layperson's perspective, absolutely understand this guy's frustrations and why he would say such a thing, it's that one instance where it's not a joke and the government doesn't respond and news organizations don't cover it and something terrible happens and we're all blamed on the opposite end. I mean, it's a very, very classic boy who cried wolf syndrome, and it's unfortunate that this happened with this guy.
You know, I think what the controversy is around the fact that no one took this seriously. It was easily seen that it was a joke. A simple, find out who the guy is, drive by his house. Okay, we know this is not a bomb threat. Please don't do, whatever. The context is the same. And they used the example of the poet who said, let's bomb slow. And they didn't mean to bomb slow. It was just rhetoric. And so finding the line between rhetoric, I think because it's Twitter, it's amplified. I think a lot of people are feeling like they're coming down on this person irresponsibly. That they're, sure, you don't joke in the security line at the airport, but you can't joke on a blog. You can't joke among mixed company because someone in the room might take it seriously. You can't joke on the it's a public forum, and so I see the other side of this is like, I think this is out of context, this response.
Absolutely. The only other response I have to that is, yes, but you are surrounded by humorous and funny people. You have no idea the amount of unfunny people who find funny things unfunny all the time.
Yeah, no, I've been there. I know.
Next email from Matthias.
I think it's Matthias.
Matthias Welsh.
Yeah,
who's the president of the NCSU Underwater Robotics Club.
Nice.
I know.
Okay, geek points for that.
That's fun. He says, since I've left home for college, I've never paid for cable, and neither have a large portion of my friends. There are very few things I miss, mostly NC State ball games that I can catch for free over the air, and Hulu plus Netflix on my PS3 has totally satisfied my content needs, plus it's on demand. I don't know how sustainable this kind of model is for content creators, but certainly works for me. Added benefits include not having a clue what terrible movies are playing, because I don't watch them. I have no knowledge of the latest Razer technology, and I have more time to listen to podcasts. So thanks for the show. I listen to it every morning while doing my intern thing.
I think this points out an
Ignorance
interesting
is bliss.
trend that, and Dan, I know you have some experience with this. When I was in college, I didn't have cable TV for the longest time because I couldn't afford it. And then when I got older and I started to make more money, I finally gave back in, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and spring for some cable television. I think we're training a large group of people that, you know what? I went without cable TV, and look at all the TV I can get online. Forget it. I don't need to sign up for cable. So it may have masked the problem a little bit.
Yeah, I've for all the talk that we do of cord cutting and of cable cutting, I was the exact opposite. I left college and, in fact, moved to Sonoma County, and I was in the same boat. I couldn't afford it. I was working a bunch of jobs and really trying to get on my feet. And when I did, I didn't feel compelled. It had been so long since I had paid for television that it felt silly when there are so many options. And this was, several years ago. If we go 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I've never paid for cable in my entire life, and I've never missed cable. When I see the advertising and when I hear the shouty nature of TV, I really am glad I can sit back and watch so many great programs that
What you don't understand, Dan, is that the American public won't stand for no cable.
Oh, Dan?
That's the kind of thing you're talking about, right?
No.
Right. And that's only anecdotal, and I'm sure that I'm an anomaly, but I won't be the kids younger than me, the millennials, it won't be an anomaly. It will, just like you said earlier, it will become a cultural pattern that why bother? Why do I need that?
And I think they're right. I think people are reducing their cable subscriptions right now because of the economy. But a lot of people who in the past are, they're at an age or an economic level where they wouldn't get cable in the past, and they're still there, are learning that they don't need it. So if those people get into an economic level where they can afford it, they may not bother with affording it. And so, we won't see that effect until they have reached that level down the road a ways. I think you're right. I don't think we're seeing it now, but I think we will see it in a big way soon. And that does have the cable providers on the run. I think they know that.
I was at the New TV Live conference just the other day, which of course is all about emerging ways to consume media. And I mean, cord cutting was the phrase of the day.
Yeah, it's the thing.
Every company is like, hey, we understand everyone wants to cut the cord.
It's last year's 3D TV.
Yeah, people are already, we assume that you don't want to pay for cable. So here's our solution. I mean, the only real downside is we have so many options. I mean, I have 7 set-top boxes right now.
Yeah, we are tablets in the pre-iPad days.
Yep.
As far as over the top.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. All right, let's finish up with Harish from India, who is among many people who pointed out that that processor-specific malware that we spoke about in episode 116 gave them an idea. He says, as soon as I heard that, I thought to myself, does Intel have anything to do with it? When Intel bought McAfee a little while ago, I think I was among many who said, why exactly? But with this, Intel's looking a lot smarter now. I wonder if they funded the study. I've not found any evidence that they have funded the study, but that doesn't mean there wasn't. But it does seem odd that Intel bought McAfee and said, yeah, we're going to protect at the processor level, and now we have a company trying to figure out how to make malware, or researchers, not a company, researchers figuring out how to make malware at the processor level. Dan Patterson, thanks so much for joining us. It was great having you along again.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Let the folks know where they can find more of your work online.
I am rebuilding many of the ABC websites, and I apologize for the distraction here. But ABC News Radio Online is a development site that we're building. You can follow us at ABC News Radio. I am simply at Dan Patterson.
Excellent. And Sarah, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Jason, thank you.
You're very welcome.
This was a great beverage
this
Friday.
Time only.
Yes. Cheers to here's to Beverage Friday.
Yeah.
You don't. It doesn't have to be alcoholic. You can have any kind of beverage you want.
It's just beverage.
Join us on Fridays. We'll be back Monday with an all-new episode. twit.tv/TNT. TNT at twit.tv is the email address. And give us a call, why don't you? Say something that everyone else wants to hear. 260-TNT show. We'll see you for Monday. Too many people.
Darn it, I was trying to... Whoa, that was good.
Wow.
Somebody's a fast beer drinker in this room.
What? It's gone already?